commitment, right? It's just about showing up, and we can oftentimes get so scared that we don't even wind up doing these things with our sons.
If you know your son's going to pack up his stuff and leave at 18, and you want him to be a certain way at 18, you need to build back from that between then and now and make a plan to instill these things in your son. You want to get your son in a place where he's not drawing his strength from a woman. So later on in life, he can have strength to give to a woman. And then what I showed him, he didn't say, hey, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about doing this. And just like chewing on this or stewing on this, not constructively for a while. I'm like, man, why doesn't Killian say I'm sorry? Why can't he just say I'm sorry or show remorse? And Killian comes and talks to me and he's like, Dad, every time I say I'm sorry, you get so mad. I was like, that sucks. I am completely failing in this area.
Man was created for a purpose, often a greater purpose than he can see in himself. The trials and difficult experiences a man goes through are for his benefit and for that purpose. A dull axe is useless, though an axe being sharpened is a grueling, violent, and uncomfortable process. A sharp axe is undeniable in its purpose. A man with a spirit-filled heart and mind is also undeniable. A kingdom warrior after God's own heart. But how do we get there? God uses trials and fire to shape a man. Life is God's foundry. It's where a man is individually crafted to complete God's mission. Join us as we seek out the fruit forged in God's own foundry.
Hey guys, just so you know, you can find us on all the different platforms. We're on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Discord, X, and as well as Spotify and all the other podcast platforms that are out there. And so feel free to tune in on any of them, like, share, comment. Like we've said, thank you guys.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to Fruit of the Foundry. Been a wonderful past week here in Spring Valley. A lot of great activities going on. Kicked off an awesome intentional fatherhood Bible study with some men in the church. And we might talk about that this morning. Had an awesome couple dam miles with Jake and John, and Mr. Dan Ald is on vacation with his family this week. So I hope they're having a blessed time wherever it is that they went.
Yeah. It can kind of start to be a busy time of the season, you know what I mean? Or an active, I hate the word busy anymore. It's got such a negative connotation, so I really try to use the word active anymore. But, it's the middle of summer, baseball season's rolling. You think school gets out and you think it's going to slow down just a little bit. You got baseball trying to get some family events in and do all that before school starts. And of course, in the north, this is the busy time of year for work, right? It's blowing and going for sure.
Everybody's jamming every 28 days, scrambling to get hay off the fields. Oh, yeah, it is running and gunning. Anyway, we got our host, Jake, here, and our producer, John, and I'm James Sullivan. This is not the first time you see me.
Won't be the last either.
I don't know. We'll see what I say.
He's not allowed to say no. He doesn't know it yet. No, it's good to have you on, James. So kind of just I'd love to dive into. So last night, in many other cultures and for most of society or most of human history, there's been kind of an initiation period into manhood. Eldridge gets into this. Some of the other guys that we follow get into this. So what's the fellow's name that the book you?
John Tyson.
Yeah. And so, down in Australia, Walkabout's kind of famous. There's other old books that you read about people in Africa that some of those tribes, they would, you'd be sent out to go hunt a lion and kill it. And in an Indian in America here, you know, in Indian tribes and things like that. When you start reading about Crazy Horse and some of these different people, what they did, and it's really fallen to the wayside, and just one more attack on masculinity, I believe, here in the 20th and 21st century. And so really neat. I just thought it was really neat that you even there's been some conversations, kind of people talking about it. John, I believe you did this with Christian here a few years back, but there's been some conversations about it, but nobody's taken the leap. But I guess what propelled you, James, to kind of take that leap and with Killian there?
A gentleman we rock with mentioned the Primal Path course that John Tyson developed, and said it was going really well with his son. That's Mike. What's Mike's last name?
I don't know. He works down there at Red Wing, so I'm just grateful that I got a good pair of boots to wear, you know.
Ruck and Mike, But he mentioned this Primal Path, so I looked into it, and my amazing wife's been pushing me to do something. I mentioned it to her. We read about it, and she's like, hey, you know, Killian's birthday's in 6 weeks. And the course has a 6-week study for just the dad to do getting into this stuff. So I jumped on, and the course does cost some money to subscribe to, but seemed worth it to have something structured to follow. Mm-hmm. So session 5 week 5 talks about rites of passage and an initiation into manhood. So, but it talks about this initiation ceremony that you should have. And so that set me up into last night. I did feel like I was scrambling some and never prepared enough, but you just got to walk forward. Like, you just have to go.
When you say that scrambling some and feel like you're never prepared, I think that's a big key to remember for all of us. Like, it's just about showing up. It's about intentionality. There's so many things pulling at us in today's world. It's hard to be completely prepared, and it's hard to have everything ready. And to that point, I swear there was you'd mentioned, hey, Jake, could you come out? And I was truly honored to be able to come out and be a part of the ceremony. And I had been thinking on it, but I hadn't had a chance to sit down and write it out, actually, like write it on a computer or something like that. And I was feeling really guilty about that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to handwrite Killian a note right before, because it's, even if he doesn't know it right now, it's real life. Maybe one day he'll look at that note and he'll be like, you know, there was a lot of men that came. They all had a lot of things going on. And this, you know, he may not even know, but this letter got written, like, it'd been thought about pretty heavily, but 5-10 minutes before the ceremony, you know what I mean? But guess what? It's not about the letter. It's just about showing up. It's not even about the words in it, right? It's just about showing up. And we can oftentimes get so scared that we don't even wind up doing these things with our sons. We don't wind up having those talks with our sons about sex or puberty or how to manage a budget, or how to, you know, one day we're not there where they're getting married, but, you know, how to juggle the relationship with your wife, right? And an argument with your wife. You don't have to always have the perfect things.
No.
Yeah, and I think people get so hung up in having it right or perfect.
Yeah, that you never wind up even doing it.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's like, oh, I'm not even going to start doing pull-ups because I can't do one.
Yeah.
And I feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
You know?
Get a rubber band, you know what I mean?
Or rite of passage, you know, that's weird. Why are you doing something weird?
Yeah, or I mean, even when I was reading this John Tyson book, it's like, man, he sets the bar so high. And you can read this book and you can be like, well, I'm never going to be that good of a dad, or I'm never going to have the ability or finances or time to do all the things he does with his kid. It's like, no, you do the James version and you be intentional, and just, you know, you probably surprise yourself with what you can do anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'd imagine, like, to your point, you read these books and you listen to podcasts like this, and that's where we hope, you know, nobody thinks that we're doing this stuff perfect, because the one thing that I do know is that I don't do anything I do perfect. Like, can I write it in a book? Can I get on here and advise, like, hey, when I manage to string getting into the Bible in the morning, eating well, doing a workout. I am intentional at work. I'm intentional at my boys. When I string that together for a few days, does it, do things go well? Yeah, they do. And then I stumble, and then I pick myself back up, and then I go again, right? Yeah. And so you can write it in a book, and you can do all that, but I'm sure that gentleman would say the same thing. Like, there was a lot of things. Maybe I got this one little part, did it well, but there's a whole bunch of other things that I didn't do well. And
I mean, even Paul writes about doing the things he knows what he should do, but he does the opposite of it, and just the battle with his flesh. And Paul's like one of the greatest guys in the Bible, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, if he's struggling with it.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I think, just the fact that how do you phrase the manhood, like the walkabout, you just said something. I went brain dead on it. That it sounds a little weird.
The rite of passage?
The rite of passage, like the initiation ceremony into just into the beginning of the journey of manhood.
Yeah. To me, just the fact that in today's society that sounds weird, I think that is a direct reflection on the attack that's going on in masculinity, right? Mm-hmm. Because there really shouldn't be anything weird about it, and it should be a pretty normal conversation that's going on in every community, in every household, with a man and his sons, right? And with a man and his friends about how the rite of passage is going to take his son on. In Eldridge's book, he talks about how one of his sons, and maybe he did it with all of them, but they went rock climbing, and they had this rock wall to scale or whatever was part of his rite of passage. And to your point, when I read that, I was like, well, man, I'm not going to be able to go do that kind of cool, crazy adventure. Right. You know what I mean? I don't know how to rock climb or whatever. So, but it's not about that. It's whatever's in your natural wheelhouse. Yeah.
One of the stories he tells in this book is about how his son had never had a Philly cheesesteak. And it's like, so he's like, so I was surprised, and so I could have just taken him to a local sandwich place, but he went to Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. They went to a baseball game. I think they wore tuxes or something like that. They went to the place that serves the best ones. And his point is you have one shot with your son to do these memorable things.
Yep.
And I know for me, I'm like, well, I got a lot of runway, but it's like, I'm running out of runway fast. He's 16, right? And so you have this shot to make these really memorable line in the sand moments with your son. Go all out. Mm-hmm. And I mean, my thing is always well, I'm short on money. I'm short on time.
Yeah.
It's this is the one thing you are here for. This is the point.
Yeah.
To that, on the short on money, short on time, I think that's been one of the most wonderful things about the last few years of what we've been doing. The damn mile this morning was free, right? I mean, I guess it was a couple bucks to get there with gas, but it was free and it hurt. The jump. So James did a really cool thing just to kind of set the table last night, and all of it was basically free. But I know what you mean, John. In my mind, I take the boys out to Montana and go on some big hunt or whatever. Yes. I 100% know what you're saying there. But anyway, so we rucked down by the Rush River is where we start, and so James had brought us all down there, and then a group of 6 or 7 guys wound up showing up, and Killian, and we stood by the river, and then all presented. We all wound up speaking to him in ways in which hope to be impactful for future trials or successes that he may face, and then reminding him that he's enough, and then reminding him that we don't do it perfectly, and then we all prayed over him. But then we jumped into the Rush River, and it was just a wonderful experience. But why did we go there? Because that's where we go and do our cold plunges, and we were chuckling that if his birthday happened to fall in the right time, it wasn't a -9 day.
Yeah. He's lucky with a June birthday, a late June birthday.
Yeah. March. It was kind of chilly. I mean, it felt great. It wasn't chilly that way, but our bodies are more acclimated to the warmth, Mm-hmm. So after sitting in it for a few minutes, a guy kind of had a little shiver to him.
It was good. Killian was shivering for sure. That was, it was uncomfortable.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
And Lisa took him on a date prior
Lisa took him out to dinner, and John Tyson calls it the severing dinner, and it's not to cut off the relationship, but it's her letting him know that typically a mother's role in the house involves coddling and nurturing, and that she's not going to coddle him through this next part of his life. That I'll be pushing him to do some challenging things and work on manhood, and if he goes to her, that she's just going to push him back towards me, just guide him back to me. So that'll be interesting when we're navigating those things, but John reflects and actually talked to his son about that dinner, and his son stated that it was very necessary.
Yeah,
because he asked his son, "Hey, do we need to do the dinner? Is that something we need to do?" And his son's like, "Absolutely." That was great. And then leading up to the initiation ceremony, his son mentioned that was a super defining moment in his life. And also it'll be interesting. Couple weeks, I'll ask Killian to reflect back on this and what to change or what went well and what's not so well about what we did, just so I get some reflection, and I'll be taking some notes because I got 3 more boys coming after him. So,
and that's what I did with Christian too. I'm like, what worked well here? What did you like? And it's just inviting them in. It is hard maybe to separate from your mother a little bit and be with your dad. Different for each one of us, but to be welcomed in and be like, now that you're a man, you're like in the club. Like, so what should we do for your brothers? Or just being in the water with all of us. Like, now you can do manly things. And I think all boys want to do that. Sometimes it can be a little scary, but
yeah. And at the severing dinner, Lisa blessed him. She praised him for what she likes about him. Asked him some tough questions, some of which he answered, some of which he didn't. And then she brought him to us down by the river, and it was neat. I was psyching him up, but I did not tell him anything about what was going on. So he was very anxious, probably some excitement, maybe a little bit of fear. And Lisa
there
also
happened to be a meeting going on at the same time in the same place.
Yep.
So there were like 40 cars.
Oh, there was a lot of cars.
So,
yep.
He thought maybe they're all there for him.
Yeah. Yep. And initially he saw the cars. Lisa told me he saw the cars and he was freaking out. And then he saw that there was just a small group of men over here with Dad, and he calmed down a little bit. Yeah. But it was and we were under severe thunderstorm watch, and the Lord provided just excellent weather for us.
And the sunset was beautiful.
Oh my gosh. When we ended and we got out of the valley,
oh man.
Oh, that sunset was awesome. I parked my truck in the middle of the road, got out, and took it in for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and it was so cool this morning because then it was all fogged up this morning too, and so then you could look at the sun and just see the perfect ring of the outline of the sun, which is, and so just another, just neat, neat days, just kind of God working,
Yep, it's that hot fog, but man, it worked. It worked last night.
It's interesting. It's really cool with what you're doing with Killian, and really hits my heart in this moment and time. My dad's getting a stent put in today. He's got a bad blockage on one side of his heart, and so he goes in and he'll get surgery today at 11:30 down in Colorado. But what's interesting about this rite of passage that you're talking about and coming into manhood is, for a while now, after Mom passed, I think, and I was thinking about it prior to that, but lost Mom, lost Grandma, Karen, my other grandparents who were, really matriarchs of the family, lost them. My grandpa, he got cancer last year. He wound up beating it, but his heart's weak and things like that. And so, and we'll unfortunately, you know, in the next, just way life is, right? We'll probably lose him in the next few years at some point. And it's had me thinking, so there's a couple times I feel like you face these transitions in life. And to be honest with you, I'm for the last couple of years, been in a relatively nerve-wracking stage not nerve-wracking is not the right word. There's an awareness of a changing of the guards, I guess, in my family. And so there's a bit of wondering, is a person going to be enough? But then also there's a bit of fear. You know, me and my dad have had a trying relationship at times in my life, and there's been many issues in my family. Just, we don't have a perfect family either, right? Like with these people that I mentioned that have passed away or whatever. But the one thing is there is a sense, or at least I've had a sense in my family, that like if things were gonna really hit the fan, like there's some people I could go to battle with, and I don't mean just like war, but like, you know, it's just life. When it was gonna hit the fan, like people could come around you and stuff. And the fact is, in the next few years, I may be one of the oldest ones in the family. And with that being said, it's weighed on me in a way. And what I mean is, or where I'm going with this is not weighed on me in a bad thing. How, when I get to that age, how do I transition well? So I'm trying to be really aware and trying to set myself up and think about it. How do I transition my sons well when there's that changing of the guard, and make them aware in that stage in their life? And so it's really interesting to sit here and be thinking about, and with you being as intentional as you are in the moment of becoming a man, well, as I'm watching this take place, I want to take note. And how does a person, when, you know, maybe I'm 65 or 70 and frankly need to be preparing sooner than that, transition so that maybe when my sons are some of the oldest people or the matriarchs of the family, because that is another stage that I feel like, man, there's a lot of weight to that. I feel like, and I don't think either of those two things get talked about, and they get glazed over.
It's as you're talking, I'm thinking about just the army of young men that are coming up, and the working towards being intentional about raising my son. And hopefully it's an example to other fathers to be super intentional to raise their sons. And also the line of manhood. I'd invite everybody listening to reflect, like, when do you think you became a man? Because I have no definition of that at all. Like I couldn't tell you, like, is it when I moved out of the house, when I was in the Army? No. After that, when I got married, I'm pretty sure when I got married, I still play video games all the time. Yeah. Probably not. Yeah. Not manly, pretty childish yet. Like, I'll ask my wife. She said some things recently. She's like, man, I just despise when you'd go sit on the PlayStation for hours. And never heard it before in my life. Yeah. But, 10, 12 years. Well, we've been married since 2011. So 15 years now. Finally heard something like that. And even since I've lived in Spring Valley around these amazing men, I feel like my manhood journey has gone a long way. And then back to the boys and everybody we're raising. If as a community we can teach these boys how to be men at 18, 20, 22. Yeah. Holy Lord, that's going to be a huge force to be reckoned with. That's going to be amazing.
Yep. Well, it extends their race. It extends their ability in the war, right? Because there's a war going on between good and evil, right? And it extends, they're actually participants, healthy participants in it too, by the way. Like, there's a right and a wrong way to react to the things that happen in this world. And to have our boys reacting in a proper way at 21, 22 years old versus, And
then when they can start building a legacy, whether that's family, a just, I think back of when I was working at John Deere, young kid working at John Deere, making really good money. I was a welder for John Deere for a couple of years. Really good money, man. I blew every dollar down to zero or negative in my bank account
all the time,
every week on truck parts and alcohol. Probably more alcohol than truck parts. Right. Like seriously, I just like
you probably needed those truck parts because of the alcohol.
Yeah, but thinking now, like trying to bring kids through manhood, talking about having the means to do the stuff that you feel like you should be doing with your kids to kick them off on this manhood journey, or traveling to Philly to get a cheesesteak, or whatever your journey could look like. Man, it would have been a lot easier if I was putting money on a house or saving up when I was 20 instead of more or less waiting till I was 30.
You're putting them ahead of where you were at their age.
Absolutely.
Putting them ahead in the game. And then the other thing I was going to mention is, I know it's Springforth, the school some of our kids go to, all our kids go to. Anyways, they have sheepdogs, right? And so like they're always saying, sheepdogs protect the flock. They defend it. Here's what a sheepdog does, and they try to raise them with that character quality. And I think talking about raising these boys up, they are going to inherit a world full of sheep, just full of sheep that are desperate for some sheepdogs to tell them what. To have confidence in what they believe and who they are, what their purpose is. I mean, the world that our kids are inheriting is going to need it so badly. And so it's just so critical that we raise up boys who know who they are, know what they believe. They're asking questions.
100% agree with that. And to identify the stages and the cycles in life that an individual goes through, and bring awareness and intentionality to each one of those. It's Fathered by God's another book by Eldridge that breaks out those stages in his way. There's a few other guys that do. And the interesting thing is how it's all tied together. So Fathered by God is a book by John Eldridge. Well, Ray Dalio writes a book called Principles, and he talks about how in the financial markets, there's cycles, and in business, there's cycles. And when you start to see those cycles and you start to, like you said, James, you don't quite know. I can't necessarily say there was ever any kind of initiation into manhood for myself either. And when you don't quite know when that is, or people don't identify that, call it out, sometimes it can be it can be really vague and unclear, and what that causes is a delay in reaction or a delay in awareness, where you made the point that in the last few years, it just really feels like in this journey as a man, which I think naturally probably happens in your 30s, right? You have some awareness, you have some time in the world, but it's been like in a warp speed. I really just think that has to do with the intentionality of the people that were around, and that they're not fearful to speak into one another. And we talk with one another about our struggles, which is the whole reason I think that the Bible asks us to talk about, whether it be sins or whatever in fellowship. God doesn't need to know your sins. But guess what? When you and I are getting real about the struggles we're having, whether it's anger or pride or pornography or drinking or whatever the case may be, and we're getting real about it, and you're doing that while you're working out or going through something with somebody, it forms bonds that builds trust. And then all of a sudden, as you wander in the road from, you start to head towards this ditch or this ditch, and you call each other out, you kind of keep each other walking the line so much better. And all of a sudden, you get so much further down the road than you ever did by yourself, than you ever did alone. And it's all because we became intentional, and hopefully, I just love what a guy's doing with this walk into manhood, and identifying it. Hopefully that really spurs it on for Killian and the rest of our boys, frankly.
Yeah.
You want to talk about what you're doing going forward?
Sure. So getting into the daily devotionals John Tyson has prepared, I do not know what they entail. There is 4 units, I believe, over the course of this year. Each one's going to have a challenge to complete for Killian that he needs to complete to be able to graduate to the next section. And I don't know what they are. All they are is referenced as being tough. And I'm 50-50 on this because we do a lot of tough things around here. We do not sit in comfort. Yeah. But I have not drug my kids along through that. So it could definitely be challenging for Killian as he comes along. But for the daily devotionals, I meet men 3 days a week, and I do stuff with men in this community 3 days a week. That's great physical activity. Super blessed by that, by the guys that show up. So I'm gonna give that to Killian. So like it or not, it's coming. Yeah. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're gonna get up and at least do like a T25 workout video. We're gonna be working out in the morning, and I told him that at least. And when we were driving home last night after the initiation, you said, "Hey, we're at least going to do a T25 video. What's at most then?" I was like, "I don't know. Maybe we'll get 3 or 4 damn miles in or something." I was like, "I can only run 2 right now, but we'll get better." So, that is the most brutal thing that I do. Yeah. Those are very.
Well, and I think it'd be fun to honestly have them come along on some of our stuff as we do as men, and just get some of the boys in 100% involved in that.
Yeah, you know? and it might be great. I tread lightly on that, just because I want to have the space for men to feel like they can be vulnerable when they're around us. But some of the stuff that we meet and do. When you're running and huffing and puffing, we're not talking much.
No.
So there definitely would be. And I think if we learn to bring these boys along, bring these soon to be men along with us and teach them how to talk to one another and how to open up some and share your pain, that could be super powerful, with these young men growing up. 'Cause I still don't have that down, but if we can train them to do that with other men at the age that they are,
and it's like, you talk about video games. Like, why do you think you play video games, right? You get like a sense of self-worth or success, or maybe some team building, but
sometimes it's just escape from reality.
But so if you could replace it with something like something challenging physically with other guys, like, isn't that more rewarding? So if you could show them the contrast, it's like I would play video games with Christian growing up, but it's like he never plays anymore. Why? The world's more interesting. It's more fun to drive a tractor. It's more fun to fix equipment. It's just more fulfilling.
It really is.
You kind of got to guide him and show him that, instead of saying, "Hey, you're not fast enough. You don't know how to fix this yet." And just invite him in.
Mm-hmm. So true, John. And the thing is, if you think about it, it's only our modern day conveniences that stop us from men doing things with our 12 to 18-year-old boys. Like, you hit 12 years old, 13 years old, not that many years ago, you'd have been going on hunts. You'd have been going out and working cattle. You'd have been working the farm, and it wouldn't have been working the farm sitting in a tractor by yourself. You'd have been out there hoeing with your dad and your brothers, and you'd have been walking up and down the field rows, hoeing whatever kind of crop you were trying to get on the ground. You'd have been working cattle, in oh my goodness, I'm brain dead. People that moved a lot, that traversed a lot around the country, right? You'd have been chasing the buffalo and all that kind of stuff, nomadic. That's the word I was looking for. People who lived in nomadic societies, and you would have done that as a group of men, or you'd have been walking off to war for a long time. In fact, I'm reading a book right now from Teddy Roosevelt, The River of Doubt, and the journey starts. He's going down to South America after we think they talk about the presidential election and not to blow up, but like if Trump ran for a third term. Like, oh my God, the world had come to an end, and they're trying to, somebody's trying to take over. Roosevelt ran for a third term. Like, I think it's just in the last 70 or 80 years, maybe they changed the law. A couple different presidents have tried to run for a third term. I'm not saying he should or he shouldn't. I'm just saying we blow it up into something big. Mm-hmm. In either case, he loses the third term. By the way, the man gets shot during, right before a speech or during a speech. And they're like, man, you might die. We need to have you quit giving the speech and go take care of you. He continues to give the speech. He just patches up plugs the holes up and just keeps delivering the speech, right? This is like in 1908 or 1912. Mm-hmm. So he loses the third election and just emotionally beats him down. And what he would do is he would go do just very difficult things. Wound up going to Africa one time, some different stuff like that. And so anyway, they go down to South America, and it's supposed to be more of this leisurely trip. He doesn't want it to be, but that's kind of how the people are setting it up. Well, by the time it's all said and done, he's winding up going down this river that nobody's traversed, and it's called the River of Doubt. And a whole bunch. I'm about halfway through it, but they start out in New York. And this whole adventure, I believe, don't quote me on this, but I think it winds up taking about 2 years before it's all said and done. And he's doing, his son's part of it. His wife was part of it for a while. They all went down, and then the wife and I believe the niece or something like that winds up taking the boat back up and goes by the Panama Canal, because that's when this was all going on. Well, a couple of people wind up dying. Well, on this they die, but then I believe it was the niece or something like that winds up dying from one of the flus or the fever,
malaria or something
like that. Yeah. All in this while they're going on this adventure, right? And that would have been a normal thing. Like to think about, to go travel to Europe, say, and it's going to be like a 6-month adventure or journey, where in today's society, we're like, well, we're going to go fly there and we'll be back next week. Yeah. That's not how it was even just 120 years ago. Right.
Yeah.
And anyway, where I'm going with that is it would have given you the time to spend with your sons, and it would have been in situation, and they'd have heard conversations around a campfire, or maybe nowadays we're like, oh, I don't know if the kids should have heard that. Mm-hmm. Well, there was no not hearing it. You'd have lived in a house where there was maybe one bedroom back then. You know what I mean? Like,
you were together.
Yeah, you were together. Yeah, exactly. And so I think we got to be aware of that, because everything wants to distract us, and these modern conveniences want to pull us apart.
Yeah.
And the real world, it's better. It's better.
Yeah.
I mean, I stopped over at this Amish place a few miles from here with my dad, pull into the yard, and they got this, I don't know, maybe 9-10-year-old kid. He's got a little short scythe, and he's just cutting weeds down. Like just contributing to the family. Oh, that's what my point was going to say is, what is the point of this whole initiation? Like, what was the point back in the day? It was to prove that you could contribute to the tribe. Like, they could trust you with the responsibilities of hunting that buffalo or getting meat or whatever you were going to do. Protecting. Right? Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. John Tyson mentions about the severance dinner or severing dinner. And he says, you want to get your son in a place where he's not drawing his strength from a woman. So later on in life, he can have strength to give to a woman, his wife. And I think that's fantastic. Super powerful, super just, man, how crazy is that? Because we have this culture and this movement towards
femininity.
yeah, like toxic masculinity, and then you couple this with these guys that just have to hang and cling on women. I think
real healthy masculinity kills that toxic masculinity, that narcissistic, self-centered thing that can be really damaging. Real men step in to stop those kind of men.
Yep.
Must have to pee real bad.
I do.
He'll know exactly where to
Oh yeah, that's
find it.
Did they in that book? Did they have the part about him fighting in in Cuba?
I don't think I've heard that yet. That part of it. Yet.
There's some Roosevelt book I read, and he's in battle, and he's just so excited to go and fight in battle, and so they're getting shot at, and he's on a horse, and there's a guy hiding behind a log. He's like, "Come on, man, stand up and fight." Stop being a coward or whatever. So the guy stands up to fight, gets shot right in the head and dies. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't know if a bullet hit a tree and then it splintered and hit him or something. I mean, just like.
No way.
And then he just went in and charged in there.
Wow.
And the whole time he was growing up, he was really sick. He was really weak.
Yeah.
And his brothers were super tough. Well, then the brother was super tough, ends up in an insane asylum.
That's crazy. Well, it says that his dad had told him that your mind, if your mind can overcome your limitations, your body's limitations. And so then like at 12 years old or something, Teddy started pushing himself and becoming stronger. It's amazing.
It's what made him who he was.
Yeah.
That weakness.
Yeah.
And I think so often we're like, how's my kid going to be? No, it just turns into who you're going to be.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think I left half gallon in there.
It'll get you.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll get you. I think it's super neat.
What a blessing having those men come around and even Ben messaged me this morning already, just in how awesome last night was, and that he's going to be praying for us, and just amazing having them guys there, and just how timing worked out. Fred showing up.
Isn't that cool that he just happened to be in town at that time?
just coming back. Normally it seems like he flies out on Wednesdays, but they were just coming back from Montana. And it's always scheduling. We're so busy working it in between baseball games.
Yeah.
So
it is weird.
Tuesday wasn't going to work. Monday he had a game. So Wednesday it was, and it worked out wonderfully. It was interesting. Lisa was texting all the wives last night and just thanking them for giving up their husbands for this. And Sandy was like, Fred is so honored to be able to show up to this. And that's cool. And he's such a excellent man and an elder at our church. And he's super cool. Such a positive attitude and just loves my boys and brings them along with whatever he can. Such a good opportunity to have some amazing men there. I didn't expect everybody to speak either, but everybody talking last night, that was
yeah. I took as much away from everybody, what everybody said, as anything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It was really good. You want to kick us off, John?
Oh, I thought you guys had just started back up again.
Oh, yeah, we were kind of.
Now we're trying to make your job hard.
Yeah.
All sorts of editing.
Yeah. Yeah. So on the masculinity side, in my opinion, that's any problems that are in America, because I believe in extreme ownership. It's the lack of leadership in men. Mm-hmm. I think if we lead our households well, love our wives well, love them through their struggles and their successes, love our daughters well and love our sons well, I think you've got a different world, in my opinion. It's up to us to make the changes. And so I think being intentional with our boys, it goes God, your wife, and then your kids. And so being intentional, that's where we can make the most impact. That's a hard thing sometimes to recognize and come to grips with. There's so many things wrong in this world, and there's so many things wrong in whether it be at work or just different stuff that you want to pour into. But the fact is if you can just kind of take care of your own house, be disciplined in your own house best you can. You won't do it perfect.
Yeah,
that'll make some of the biggest impact, right? Because it'll be a multiplier by the time it's all said.
100%. And we were talking about before just about overflowing cups, and I 100% think that ties into it. Like if you're if you are pouring into your household, and if you have the order correct, God, spouse, children, and you're intentional on effort as such, just having your cup full and being able to come home and fill in your cup because you're not dealing with, because you spent the time to have a great relationship with God and to grow towards God together with your wife. And I always think of the triangle, like there's you and your wife and there's God. And as you move towards God, you move together with your wife. And then as you pour into your kids are not going to misbehave for attention. I always think about that as a byproduct of lack of attention. Kids will misbehave just so they're getting some attention, even if it's negative. But my house is not frequently like this. So I'm not saying my life is perfect, but if you can fill your cup at home, then it has room to overflow into those situations at work, into those situations with a friend, or whatever else life might throw at you.
Well, I loved, in my early 20s, I was trying to figure out how to juggle business and love my wife and kids well. And so I wound up finding the book 7 Things of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And he says in there that your family loves you, and think of that love as like a savings account. And you can deplete it. But if you don't ever reinvest or put into that savings account, eventually, right, you're going to drain it. Mm-hmm. And so you'll have a business meeting or you'll have something, and you'll be like, "Hey, son, can I miss this ball game?" And he's going to say yes, or you're going to have an anniversary, or you're going to have a birthday of your wife's, and you're going to be like, "Hey, honey, I really need to go out and do this or that," and she'll love you enough that she'll let you go do it. And just remember to fill that savings account back up, or make sure that cup's full. And with that being said, it doesn't have to be big, grandiose things. And with that being said, too, don't think that this is going perfect. Like right now, I'm about as drained as I can get. I'm not going to lie. I'm running on like 5.5 hours of sleep for 2 or 3 weeks now. But I know it's a season, right? Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of travel. I'm also aware we're going to take next week off and just get away and have some family time. And, so the controlling side of me wants to make sure that I've got this estimate out, that this is taken care of. Am I leaving am I not getting things conveyed to my guys so that I'm letting them down? And then there's a part of me too that's like, I can't wait to go have this time with my family. Am I going to fall, am I not going to do it well? Am I not going to prep well so that we can just go have this time with the family? You know what I mean? And so all those things wind up weighing on you. And so like when James is talking about your cup being full, a lot of times it doesn't feel like your cup is full. It doesn't feel like you have the energy to do it. But know that that's an emotion. Try to deal with that emotion through the fruits of the Spirit, right? Love and joy. Somehow try to find joy when you're drained, and just take that next step. Jocko or somebody, I don't know who said it, or Goggins, who knows, but they said don't stop halfway up the hill. Stop at the top of the hill. Don't stop halfway up the hill. And so I often try to think of that in these seasons. Like, I really would rather just sleep in this morning, or I'd really rather not have this conversation with my son, or whatever the case may be, or I'm tired and we got a podcast to film. Well, I'm just going to take the next best step and do it the best way I can.
Yep. It's easy to get home and be exhausted and then not push through being intentional and holding your wife and giving her a kiss and running my sons down every morning to make sure they get a hug when they get out of bed. Mm-hmm. Like or just making sure, like, my youngest is 7, still walking upstairs and tucking them in at least one night a week. Mm-hmm. Just reminding the kids that they're special. But sometimes it's like, man, I'm tired. I don't want to walk upstairs. Yep. But what's that effort cost? It's nothing.
And can you look down the road? I mean, man, we were going through it yesterday. It's like some tough stuff at work, and then come right into Christian said he's going to be there for dinner. And he's just, well, I already have plans with all my friends. Well, you told us you're going to be here. So then he leaves, and then Chris is talking to me. He's like, is this the pattern you're okay with? That you say something and then he leaves. And I mean, this isn't, and I'm thinking like, well, now when he comes, if he stays, he's just going to be angry, and it's like, I don't want to deal with that either. Like I've dealt with all this stuff all day. And it's like, no. So, I told him he could go. Yeah. And then I called him back. I'm like, no, you just need to come. You need to come back. Like this, you just need to come back. And so it's like, I feel like I failed, but just got back up and be like, no, you do need to come back. And then he's even more mad that I did that. Right. But, Chris was just talking about it. It's like, look, what is the precedent that we're setting? And then the other boys are watching this too. And you know what? We ended up having a great time. Like we played flag football together. We ate dinner. And, he's probably just hungry too, right? And like, I understand he's at that tough age where like you want to be with your friends. You want to connect with them more and get the support from them more than your family. But I think at the end of the day, you still need your family too. Yeah. So we did have a great time. But man, that was a battle yesterday. A real battle.
Isn't it so hard? Like you see your kids working hard and doing things hard. And so then they want to go play and you and go do fun things, and you don't want to hold them back from that. You know what I mean? And it's so hard to say no to those things. Yeah. And to know when are you being too, when are you pulling them back too much, and when are you letting them out? That's such a fine line to walk. Yeah.
Yeah. And he did go hang out with friends afterwards. It's just, look, this is what we said we were going to do. You have to stick with this. And
Yeah. That's where I think it's wonderful to me that every time I think of those things, it's just the image of Jesus in his last hours as he's staying steadfast in everything and saying, no, this is what we're going to do. This is what I'm going to do. No matter if everybody else leaves me and all this stuff.
And they did all leave him.
And they did all leave him, right? And I always think of that, like, and he didn't react. He could have stopped it all. He could have blown it all up if he wanted to, you know what I mean? But he didn't react in that way. He just stayed acting like the fruits of the Spirit and hanging on the cross and praise, forgive them for they know not what they do. I'm not certain I could do that, you know?
And I always think of when Mary and Martha were crying about their brother dying, and he cried with them. He knew he was going to raise him up from the dead. And so it's like, he still has empathy for whatever hard trial we're going through, even though he knows we're going to have eternal life with him, right? Like for him, it's like this for this life.
You just say that well, Jonathan, because you can have empathy for somebody, and then you can love them enough to be steadfast and hold steady to a certain way to live or act or react. And that's really what true love is. True love isn't just really loving somebody isn't easy, and it's having empathy for them, yet doing it in the way in which you're called to do it and called to live, right? In that instance, Jesus wasn't supposed to revive him. He could have stopped him from dying in the first place.
He could have, yeah.
But that wouldn't have.
And that's what they were mad at him for.
Yeah.
And he was okay with them being mad at him.
Because he knew in the end it was going to set the example that needed to be set, right?
And in fact, I think it's raising Lazarus from the dead that kind of set off a lot of the chain of events.
It sure seemed like it, doesn't it?
Get it killed in the first place. Because they were like, let's kill Lazarus. No, let's just kill Jesus.
Yeah.
Of course, how do you kill somebody who's already been dead?
Yeah, it sure seems like it. But I'm really intrigued to see where this goes with you and Killian. And it's been heavy on my mind with the boys and made me aware too. I took Easton out when he was 12 and we went out on this elk hunt. It was more of like a rite of passage because he could hunt or whatever. And then the way Eli's stuff has worked out, we didn't go. He had football and just didn't want to go all the way out there and stuff. But anyway, we wind up doing like this 30-mile hike, me and Easton and my brother did. Not in one day, 30 miles total over a few days. But Noah is 12. You doing this dawned on me. Noah is 12. He doesn't have his hunting license yet. I don't have a plan to take him to Montana. We haven't had this conversation. I haven't been trying to be less intentional with him, but it's the third son getting into the teenage years. All three of them are busy with stuff. And it was just eye-opening, like, Jake, that 10% extra discipline that you had with Easton, you know, is maybe that's 5% with Eli, you know, maybe I'm down to 2 or 1%. Maybe I'm at 0 right now with Noah. And I'm like, so I've been thinking about that ever since you sent me that text the other day. And I'm like,
Yeah. It's interesting to think about that because our youngest, we baby him a lot. He's the baby. So like, he's the baby. Noah's the baby. You know what? Is that going to require extra?
Yeah.
It's interesting to think about.
And I didn't even really put together that he was 12 because he's the baby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and not that he acts like a baby. I mean, of course they have different, it seems like the youngest have a different emotion. So does the middle one. But I was like, wait a minute, he's 12. I was expecting Easton to go on this, you know, hunting trip with me. And I haven't even put thought to that. Like to put
and that's why it's so good to, you know, have you do this. Cause even for me, I went through this with Christian, but then I kind of it just kind of petered out. Right. Like, it's like, I mean, I should still be working out every day with him, and I have him do a devotional, but I'm supposed to like understand what he got out of it each day. I mean, there's things that we need to do, and then our boys will really catch that if we're doing it.
And it's, if you want to do it right, it's a lot of work. One of the exercises was, it was referenced like a eulogy exercise. So if you want people to say certain things about you when you die at your funeral, you have to be a certain way to get those things said. And so they referenced that, but they said, if you know your son's going to pack up his stuff and leave at 18, and you want him to be a certain way at 18, you need to build back from that between then and now and make a plan to instill these things in your son before he's up and gone.
Yeah.
And that's, boy, you think about that, and I'm sure fathers with sons can think of potentially dozens of things they would like their sons to be when they're leaving the house, and what do you need to do between now and then to make those things true? Because that could be, I mean, I think of that with Killian, and that's a lot of work. Yep. But it's worthwhile work.
I looked up some of the quotes from that book. I'm just going to read this one. Because, you know, you're talking about like these changing things, but like what actually are they going from a boy to a man? And it says, the life of a boy is a life of ease, a life of self in which we try to control everything, and a life spent living in the moment. But the beauty of being a man is that a man embraces difficulty, cares about others, he is part of a greater story, and is willing to surrender to a greater cause, and lives for the eternal, not the temporary. You know, I mean, like, how many of us are struggling to do that ourselves? And I mean, a man that can do that can change the world.
Oh, yep. 100%, right? 100%. And, you know, the thing I think a guy's got to be guarded about too, a few things here as a person does this, is we can't want their manhood more than them. Right. I do think that's why a lot of the examples you look back on, they sent them out on their own to traverse, right? So you can't want it more than them. But then the other thing is the work, you know, like you said, there's a lot for you to do. That work is actually for you, if you think about it. Like the one thing that can happen in your mind, and I think where the evil one can pry is as a person being like, man, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm not saying you're doing this. I'm saying this is how my mind would work. I'm doing all this stuff for my boy, for Easton. I'll use Easton or Eli or whatever. And they're not doing this or they're not doing that. Well, no, actually, I'm going through this process. It's a discipline for me too. It's working in my heart. God's working too. So you can't want it more than them, but then you also got to realize the work that you're putting in is for you just as much as anything else. Yep. And then lastly is it's a long race. And so I feel like that's why we watch these people or you just watch people stumble. And I feel like what happens when you watch that take place, and I watch it in my life too, is you push yourself to a level that's not sustainable. So it's great. You can run a 100-meter sprint, but you're not going to go run a marathon. You're not going to go run 26 miles at a sprint. And so be careful of burnout, right? And pacing yourself well, because it is a long race. It's living the last part of what you read there. It's doing that for a long period of time, not just a short window. And being relatively consistent with that message that you read there.
Yeah, thanks for that thought, Jake. That's pretty cool. Like just knowing it's not for me, but I do want to wear my crown of gray hair well.
Yeah.
When I'm old,
Yeah.
That's, I always think of that. That's Proverbs, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Gray hair's a crown on your head.
Well, when you said that eulogy thing too, I was thinking about, man, that thought's been heavy on my mind too. Cause like the thought about jumping on a plane and trying to get down there to see Dad. And there's just a bunch of other stuff going on in life. And I was like, I told my wife, I was trying to think about like, what would Jake do? Like when I'm saying in third person, everybody says like, what would Jesus do? But what I'm saying is like, I'm trying to make these decisions. What would I do? And what I meant by that and why I was phrasing it that way is I don't want to get lost in the doing. Mm-hmm. There's a certain way that I hope to be able to live this life by the fruits of the Spirit. But you can get lost along the way and think that you're doing it well and be blinded. And so that's something like I've been wrestling with the last few weeks is like, okay, what would I do?
Yeah.
Am I in line with what I would do? Am I in line with biblical principles that he calls me to do? And so am I following that path?
Yeah. And 100%, we have a lot to learn. I told a story earlier today to you guys, and it's just something that shows that we have a lot to learn. And that's one thing I'll really enjoy going through this process with Killian is I probably stand to learn as much as I'm trying to teach him. But to the story, I parked behind our lawnmower with my truck.
Yeah.
And so I told Killian to go mow, and I've been letting him move vehicles around the house. Whatever. Hey, go move this thing over here. Go take the pickup truck to the back of the yard and pick up sticks or whatever's out there. And so he feels, freedom to move vehicles. So he hopped in my truck to move it and moved it right across the brush guard on another vehicle that we have sitting in the yard. And you're young, so if something stops, what do? You push the gas harder, right? So whatever. I didn't notice it right away, and then I finally noticed it, and I was like, "What is that, man?" I don't. We were just off roading in the truck, and I was like, "Man, I don't remember hitting the trees." And we were going up hills and stuff, and the trees were close, and there would not be like three perfectly straight lines down the side of the truck. So I'm looking at that, and I was like, Killian moved the truck earlier, and it's parked right by the excursion. So I was like, oh. So I went and looked, and I was like, I was probably red at that point.
Yeah.
The grill guard had some paint on it.
Yeah. Didn't notice. I don't know if Killian didn't notice the damage on the truck or anything like that. So I went and talked to my wife about it, and my wife and I were just kind of flabbergasted that Killian didn't know. And then what I showed him, he didn't say, hey, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about doing this. And I'm just like chewing on this or stewing on this, not constructively for a while. I'm like, man, why doesn't Killian say I'm sorry? Why can't he just say I'm sorry or show remorse for damaging my truck? And sure, we took it off road, and I am hard on that vehicle. It came back with some damage it didn't have before. But and ultimately it's not that big of a deal. Ultimately it's not, but I just was stewing over this, and Lisa finally breaks down and talks to Killian a little bit about just showing some remorse and being apologetic. And Killian comes and talks to me, and he's like, Dad, every time I say I'm sorry, you get so mad. was like, oh,
It,
that sucks. I am completely failing in this area. And I just learned that was 2 weeks ago. So I truly do 100% agree with what you're saying, Jake. And I've got a lot to learn yet.
well, when you shared that story, it made me think about when you shared it this morning, how you never know how people are receiving your words. Just because you think you're saying something in a way, they might not be hearing it in the same way you're trying to receive it. And it was like, I could be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
The boys, maybe the boys are saying sorry, and
just think, how many times have you said you're sorry, and you're like, I'm sorry doesn't fix anything, or whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
But that's probably what I said. Like, I'm sorry doesn't fix it, or whatever, and or I'm still mad, and I just respond in anger instead of showing compassion and showing grace.
Mm-hmm. And think about, have we done that with our wives? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I'm certain I have. You know what I mean? Like, I'm certain if I just spend enough time to think about, or our friends, or our team members at work, or whatever. But when you said that, I was like, gosh, in how many areas am I blind to the way in which I think I'm speaking or reacting to a situation?
And if you've told him you can no longer go to your mother, you have to come to me. Now you're going to have to learn these skills, James. This is what mothers are so good at doing. They're pulling the truth out in a safe environment. Can Killian reveal the truth to you in a safe way?
Yep.
That's tough.
Well, and to that, hopefully Killian over time can learn it's not about your reaction. It's always about his reaction, right? How can he react in the fruits of the Spirit? Because frankly, the world won't always react that way, well. And so can he still apologize? And can you get frustrated after the apology, but have him really know and have the confidence in himself to continue to apologize or continue to react in this certain way because it's the right way, even though dad or grandpa or Frank or whoever, didn't. And then for us to look at too, how are we reacting the way we should be?
Yeah, and I think we're always going to damage our children. Like, it's inevitable. We're broken people. But if you can show him, if like in this environment, like you can say, hey, I realize I have been doing that, but I'm gonna work on it. And if he can see that you found a flaw, addressed it and changed it, then whatever damage you do to him, he can find that flaw, address it and change it in his own life.
Oh, you saying that image of one of the, I don't know if it was Easton or Eli. They were at the base of our stairs and they popped out with a Nerf gun and shot the Nerf gun and smoked me right in the eye at the top of the stairs. And oh my goodness, boys, I was on fire, right? Like, man, I lit into him, and the bad thing is because I light into whichever boy it was. All the while I'm like lighting into him, but it's kind of like it's a third person thing, right? Because I also, as I'm ripping into him, I'm picturing the joy that was on his face when he pulled the trigger because he was just messing around with dad, right? He wasn't trying to shoot me in the eye. So I wind up going down and apologizing later, but it was one of the time. It was like one of the first or very first few, maybe 5 times, or maybe there had been a couple times prior to that where I got that, just got really upset that I was like, you know what, I need to go apologize, and it took me a minute to get myself the courage to go apologize to my kid. You know what I mean? And it was after that moment that I realized, you know what, you should have the ability and the courage to go apologize to your kid. So now I, if I overstep my bounds, I try to make sure because it's showing them what a good man looks like.
Yeah. Do you want them to have the courage to apologize? You have to show it to them.
Yeah. And also it was just one more time where I just didn't react to the world well, And,
and I think that's the thing. That's the thing. I'm really like, you can say, hey, I failed. It's over. Or you can just get back up, go apologize, try again.
Yeah. Well, I think we're butting up against time here, gentlemen. James, thanks, dude, for being willing to talk about this journey you're about to go on with, or you're going on with Killian, and thanks for thinking of me and Jonathan and some of the other fellows to be involved in it. It means more than you know, and
it was our honor to have the men that we had there last night. What an amazing group of guys.
Yeah, no,
hopefully you guys can drag some Colbinson boys down here at some point, because
I was trying to get Ben down here with us. Yeah, Ben, get that house project finished up so we can get you down here, fella. So, them Colbinson brothers, they're good people, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll just keep building them up until they're on.
Yep. Yeah, right. And then we'll just knock them right back down. We'll start with the damn mile.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Maybe right about the time that the reservoirs is freezing over, and we'll cut a hole in the ice, and that's how we'll finish it well too,
Perfect.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So, well, thank you guys, and we really just appreciate everybody tuning in. Please like, subscribe, share. We could really use to get the word out there and get people listening. And really the reason we want to is just so that people know that they're not alone. And so we're on all platforms, and we really appreciate all the support. We had people run into us last night that were really excited. It was just good to hear. It was just that it fills a person's cup that, that it's impacting somebody. So you guys have a good week.
You're going to end with a prayer?
Yeah.
Jake, you can close us today.
Sounds good to me. Dear Lord, we just thank you for sending your son down here, and for the example that we get to read about in your word every day. And we thank you for blessing us with sons and daughters, or different young individuals in the community that we can lean into. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be a lampstand so that you can be the light that shines into their lives. And just help us to continue to have the strength to endure and weather the storms, to stand tall amongst the storms so that your light can continue to shine through. Guard our hearts from ever having pride or ego of the good works or the good things that happen. Help us to always point anything that is good that's happening in our lives or other people's lives around us to you, Lord, because we know it is because of you and not of us. We just pray for anybody listening, whether they're going through trials or successes, that they just are able to react to those situations in the fruits of the Spirit, especially in love and joy. And we pray these things in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.